My name is Michelle, and I'm 31 years old. I've always felt like my dad treated me differently than my brother. Honestly, your brother deserved that new car, my dad said as he handed me a pair of plain flip-flops. I looked at the pair of flip-flops. They were a very plain model and not even wrapped, but I smiled like the fool I was always expected to be. That's cool, I replied. So he can pay his bills this month. My dad blinked. For a moment, the arrogance slipped from his face. But I didn't wait for an answer. I just turned, left the room, and drove back to my apartment, already dialing the gas company on speakerphone. That was the last family dinner I ever attended. I live alone in a quiet part of Greenville. I work at a small tech company, nothing fancy, but enough to keep the lights on, including the ones in my parents' house until yesterday. Because the truth is, no one tells you about being responsible. They don't really respect you. They depend on you like a wrench. They only come to you when something is broken. You're not the golden child. You're the emergency contact, the walking ATM, the silent plan B. It doesn't matter how much you've dedicated yourself to your family every year. For me, it all started years ago, quietly and subtly. First it was a phone bill, then a few months of help with rent, medicine for my mother. Suddenly, I was co-signing loans and fixing internet problems remotely while working my own full-time job. But this birthday dinner was supposed to be different. I hadn't seen them in months. I brought my mother dessert and a gift. I even put on makeup, tried to look more presentable for the family, whatever that means. My younger brother, Bruno, was already there. Of course, he always is. Never on time with the rent, never working full-time jobs, but somehow he's always in the group selfies, always the one my dad brags about at church. And now he had a brand new hybrid SUV parked in the driveway, a gift from them. "You live too far away to come to the holidays," Bruno had said with a smug smile when I'd walked in. "I guess you'll be spending it alone again this year." I didn't say anything. Not yet. I waited for dinner, waited for the forced and awkward conversation, waited for the Christmas cards I'd sent that went unacknowledged, waited for my father to stand up, raise his glass, and toast Bruno for being the one who always shows up. Then came the slippers. A simple, clearly unloved pair, pressed into my hand like a participation trophy. "They're comfortable," my father had said. "You love lounging around the house in slippers, don't you?" Right. It wasn't the gift that hurt. It was the math behind it. I pay half their mortgage, cover their phone plans. I once wired money at 3 a.m. from a hotel bathroom while on a business trip because my mother said the heater was broken and they couldn't sleep in the cold. And yet, somehow, I was the invisible one until I smiled, went outside, and made a phone call. The next morning, the lights in their house went out. And that's where this story really begins. They called me exactly 10 hours after the blackout. First my mom, then my dad, then Bruno. Missed calls, voicemails, even a shaky video of their kitchen in the dark, candles flickering in the background as if they were auditioning for a seance. I didn't answer because what they didn't realize, what they never bothered to realize, was that the electricity, gas, and water had all been in my name since 2020. With the pandemic, my dad lost hours of work, Bruno moved back in temporarily, and I stepped in to help out for a few months. Months turned into years, and no one ever asked when I planned to stop until I did. The second the utility company confirmed that everything was shut off, I sat back in my chair, cracked open a soda, and watched my inbox fill with panic. Messages like, "You could have told us. Your mom is cold, Michelle. Is that what you want? She's throwing a tantrum over her flip-flops." That last one was from Bruno. He even included a laughing emoji, so I took a screenshot just to remember the tone. Then came the message in the group. My mom added me back after months of silence. "Family first," the group name read. "Mom, can we talk like adults?" "Dad, you've made your point." "Bruno, look, grow up." "Mom, you can't just cut off your family. That's not love." I replied, "You're right. It's not love. It's survival." Then I left the chat again. For good. Let me be clear, this didn't start with the flip-flops. Or even the car. That was just the spark. The gas had been leaking for years. The gas looked like this. I paid off Bruno's gambling debt in 2021, $2,000. "Just this once, Michelle," he said. I later found out he used some of the money to buy concert tickets. I replaced my dad's laptop after he spilled whiskey on it. No thanks. Just a passive-aggressive comment about how it wasn't a Mac. I helped my mom with her dental surgery for $1,000, only to find out she told her friends at church she covered it all herself after a rigorous saving. And when I lost my job for 2 months during a corporate restructuring, not a call, not a how are you. I didn't say anything at the time, just kept paying the bills, kept sending money, just until tax time. I kept telling myself that maybe they were just stressed. But now they were cold, hungry, and confused. And I wasn't going to lift a finger until the Facebook post 2 days after the blackout. Bruno posted a story, a picture of him and my dad in front of their new SUV, smiling like nothing had happened. Caption, still standing, still family. Some people are just bitter. I didn't screenshot this, I downloaded it, because this wasn't ignorance anymore, it was war. So I started investigating. And I didn't have to dig very deep. My dad, Mr. I pay my bills, was quietly siphoning money from a joint account I'd opened when they couldn't figure out online banking. Not much, little by little, 40 here, 90 there. But it added up. $4,180.80 to be exact. And you know how I found out? Because he accidentally wired a $600 transfer from that account to an auto parts store in Bruno's name the same week he told me he was barely getting by. That's when I knew I needed receipts. So I printed them all out. The wire transfers for the utility bills, the bank records where Bruno sent $600 to his girlfriend with the note to the cabin, a cabin I wasn't invited to. But that wasn't all. A month earlier, I had helped my cousin Isabel fix the Wi-Fi. She works in IT security. I told her it was just a casual job, she owed me a favor. I asked her to check to see if anything strange had happened in my name in the last year. She found 2 things. Someone had tried to open a credit card using my social security number, and that person had submitted a request to change the billing address linked to the family's internet. Guess whose name was there? Bruno. My dad's signature. My mom's phone number listed as a backup. I wasn't mad. Not anymore. I was focused, because if they wanted to play dirty, I could outsmart them. So I put together a digital folder. I called it The Cost of Blood. Inside were bank statements, screenshots of Bruno mocking me in text messages, emails from my dad asking for discreet help, recordings of my mom saying, "Well, you're better off than your brother, you can help." Photos of the birthday dinner table, my empty chair. Then I sent it to myself, blind copied to 3 trusted people. I made 2 backups on USB and in the cloud. I wasn't going to publish it. Not yet. First, I had to make sure they saw it coming. Then the house lost heat completely because the gas was turned off and the landlord refused to fix the broken furnace without payment. They had no choice but to call me again. And this time I answered. My dad's voice was tense, controlled. He began with, "Michelle, I think we all overreacted." I didn't say a word. He continued, "It's been a rough winter. Your brother, he's been going through some stuff. He's trying his best." That's when I said, "Well, then he can pay his bills this month." He paused, then asked, "What do you want from us?" I calmly replied, "Nothing. Just returning the favor. You treated me like a backup plan. I'm treating you like a footnote." Then I hung up. That night, I went online and started something new, a blog. Title, "My family gave my brother a car and a pair of flip-flops, so I cut the power." Subtitle, "A guide to setting boundaries when love is a one-sided transaction." It wasn't revenge. It was liberation. And they hadn't seen the worst of it yet. I showed up at my mother's birthday dinner at exactly 6 p.m. Nothing fancy in my hands, just a cheap bottle of wine in a plain white envelope. No announcement, no warning. They weren't expecting me. After everything that had happened, they probably assumed I was out of their lives forever. But I wasn't there for reconciliation. I was there to end things properly, to make sure they saw what it was really like to lose me. My father opened the door with a look on his face like he'd just received an audit notice. "What are you doing here?" he asked dryly. I smiled. Celebrating Mom. Or was that invitation just for real family again? He walked away stiffly. No hug, no friendly conversation. The living room was full, Mom, Bruno, even my cousin Lola, who always laughed when someone was humiliated. The table was set, the decorations were in place. It seemed normal for now. I placed the envelope gently in the center of the table. Bruno squinted at it. What's this? Some stuff I found, I said quietly. I thought we should all take a look. Inside were 3 documents. A credit card application in my name, signed, approved, dated 2 months ago. My name, not my signature. An order confirmation for a $1,000 smartphone sent to Bruno's address, charged to my card. A printout of an email from my mother's Gmail account, which had been logged into my iPad since last Christmas. It said, "Me always pays. She won't even notice." My father took the envelope and began shuffling through the papers, muttering something about misunderstandings. "Oh, come on," I said. "What's the probability that these 3 mistakes could happen to benefit you?" My mother stood up. "We were struggling. You used to help. What changed?" I looked her in the eye. "I stopped pretending this was family. That's what changed." Then I slid another sheet across the table, a printout from my bank, courtesy of an old colleague at the agency I used to manage. A $500 transfer to an auto parts store in Bruno's name, from my account. Bruno paled. "I thought it was your spare card," he stammered. "I was going to pay you back." "When? Before or after you bought that PlayStation?" He trailed off. My mother sat as if her legs had given out. My father stared, jaw tight, fists clenched on the table, as if he still thought he had the upper hand. He didn't. I picked up my cell phone. "Do you recognize this number?" It was my mother's. I pressed play on a voicemail to my insurance company, where she was pretending to be me. She was trying to update my policy, add new prescriptions, change the address, even add Bruno as a dependent. I looked at her. "You didn't think I'd notice?" She shook her head silent. "And you?" I turned to my father. "Do you still want to tell me you haven't touched that joint account?" No answer. Then Bruno finally exploded. "This is insane. You're tearing the family apart over a few bills and a phone? Seriously?" "No," I said. "I'm tearing it apart because of the years you pretended I was just a resource. You lied. You stole. And now you're offended because I noticed." I picked up one last document. It wasn't even official, just a handwritten note, a checklist from their kitchen, titled Ways to Reduce Michelle's Dependency. It had 5 items. Number 3. Start slowly transferring the bills into his name. She won't notice. A silence fell over the room, cold and thick. No one said anything. Bruno stepped out onto the porch. My mother covered her face. My father just stared at the wall, as if it might offer an escape. Then my father looked at me, his voice low. "Are you trying to destroy us?" I took a step forward, calm and slow. "You destroyed me piece by piece, account by account, lie by lie. I'm just returning the favor for once." I turned and walked to the door. Hand on the doorknob, I paused. "Oh, and keep your slippers on, Dad. You're going to need something comfortable when the rest of the bills come due." And then I left. I didn't go home after dinner. I didn't even go to my apartment. I drove. No GPS, no destination. Just the open road and the kind of silence you only get when something big inside you finally dies. I ended up in a hotel 2 cities over. A place with flickering lights and too much bleach on the sheets, but it felt cleaner than everything I'd just left behind. The next morning, my phone was a graveyard of notifications. 36 missed calls, 12 voicemails, 3 blocked numbers, and a text from Bruno that said simply, "This isn't over." He was right. It wasn't over, not even close. 3 days later, the real fallout began. My mom emailed me. She never emailed me, asking if I'd contacted the credit bureau. She said something about her card being frozen. I didn't respond. That same night, I got a call from my old landlord. Apparently, someone pretending to be me had called to ask about the lease records. When the landlord asked for ID, the caller hung up. Sloppy, desperate, expected. So I took the next step. A month before all this, I had started compiling paperwork for something I didn't think I would actually do, remove myself from all co-signed financial responsibilities tied to my family. I completed this process in a single weekend. I contacted the bank and revoked all shared authorizations. I closed the reserve account through which my father had quietly funneled his past due utility bills. I canceled the automatic debit for their internet and electricity again. Then I contacted my accountant. There was a trust fund, Not much, some bonds, some small investments I had made years ago when I was still thinking about retirement. And until now, my family had been listed as the secondary beneficiary. That had changed. Now every penny was locked away in an anonymous charity fund. Cancer research, disaster relief, scholarships for students, strangers who had never stolen from me. It seemed poetic. They had taken my love for granted, so now strangers would take my money. The fallout came in waves. 2 weeks after the birthday dinner, I got a call from a friend who still worked at the pharmacy where my mother used to buy her medicine. He sounded uncomfortable. "Michelle, did you really cancel her health insurance?" "No," I said. "I just stopped paying for what covered her. She would have to get her own now as an adult." But the real storm came when their landlord called me. Not out of courtesy, out of necessity. "Michelle," he said, "I hate to bring you in, but your name is still on the lease." Or rather, it was until that call. Within 2 days, I had filed a formal withdrawal and sent him copies of everything. Their income statements, their past due rent payments, their unpaid utility bills for more than 3 months. He was shocked. "They always talked about it as if you were helping them voluntarily," he said. I laughed. "No, they talked about it as if I had no choice." 3 days later, I got a Facebook message from Lola, the cousin who used to laugh at my t-shirts and call me, the doormat. She wasn't laughing anymore. She sent me a screenshot of a group chat I wasn't part of. Bruno had posted a picture of his car, selling this week. "Need money, message me." Below it were replies like, "What happened to the job? I thought your sister paid for everything." And one from Lola herself, "I think Michelle's bank closed." I didn't reply, just stared at the screen. Let them rip at each other. But the most satisfying part was the voicemail from my dad. It came at 2:13 a.m. His voice sounded like sandpaper and whiskey. "Michelle," he drawled. "Do you think you're some kind of heroine now? Do you think you can just wipe the blood away? That you can walk away like some righteous victim?" He paused. Then came the line that told me everything. "You should have stayed broke." That was it. That was the whole truth. I wasn't a daughter to them. I was a resource, useful as long as I remained small and quiet and obedient. But now I was fireproof. I moved within a month, not just to a new apartment, but to a new city, new life, with no forwarding address. My new lease was under an alias. I even set up my utilities through a third-party provider that masked the ownership. I wasn't hiding, I was protecting myself. I bought a second phone, the original one I left turned off in a drawer, a grave for every contact who had ever seen me as a tool instead of a person. And just because I couldn't resist one last touch, I sent a letter handwritten with no return address. It went to their house. Inside was a copy of the lease termination and a post-it note with 5 words, "Find a new safety net." I didn't sign it, I didn't need to. They would know. Weeks passed, then months. Silence, real, uninterrupted silence, became my new normal. No sudden calls, no emergencies, no passive-aggressive birthday reminders asking for just a small loan to cover groceries. Just me, my work, my place, my rules. And it turns out that kind of peace is louder than revenge will ever be. 6 months have passed. 6 months since I walked out of that house with nothing but a folded envelope and the kind of silence that leaves no room for return. And in that time, I've learned something that no therapist, no article, no superficial family reconciliation ever teaches. Closure is not soft. It's not forgiveness. It's not some warm embrace in the kitchen of a rehab clinic. Closure is cold, precise, sharp as glass when it finally shatters in your hand and you stop pretending you were ever whole to begin with. They still try sometimes. Not my mother, not directly. She's too proud for that. But I've seen the crumbs. A friend from high school sent me a screenshot of a new Facebook post. A blurry photo of a partially empty living room. The caption, "Sometimes the people you create forget who created them." Vague, petty, transparent. Below, Bruno liked the post and commented, "Some people only show up when the lights are on." I almost laughed. From what I could tell, his lights were still off. They think I'll blink first. They think I'm still the same version of me, who once drove 3 hours to deliver my dad's blood pressure meds. The same meds he later joked he didn't need because stress doesn't affect real men. They think, okay, I'll text, email once a week. Hey, hope you're doing well. just to test the waters. But the truth is, I'm not thirsty anymore. I've built a new life. A new apartment with white walls and dark floors. A bookshelf that holds only what I choose. A quiet coffee shop 2 blocks away where they know my name but not my past. My fridge is full. My bills are mine. And when my phone rings, they are only people I choose to keep. Not for a second have I missed being someone's backup plan. They've lost more than me. They've lost the illusion of control. The sweet comfort of always having someone behind the scenes to clean up the mess. Now they're their own janitors. And it's a mess. Word got out. My aunt called, the one who used to laugh when my dad told stories about my lack of lift. She said, I didn't know it was that bad. If you'd said something, I hung up mid-sentence. She knew. Everyone knew. But laughing is easier than helping. The last time I heard from my dad was in a letter, a real letter, blue ink, crooked handwriting. It was 3 pages of nonsense. It talked about legacy, about lineage, about how we all make mistakes and how there's still time to make things right. I read it once, then tore it into pieces and mailed the pieces back, one to an envelope with no return address. He sent another, shorter, angrier. You're going to regret this. You're still my daughter, whether you like it or not. Then I sent him a final reply, a single sentence typed in bold on a white page. I was just useful to you while I was helping you pay. I haven't heard from him since I changed my number last week. New SIM card, new contacts. The people who made me feel like a wallet with a heartbeat didn't get the update. I didn't post about it, I didn't make a scene. I just left them behind like bad furniture. But I did leave a little message. Not for them, for me. I bought a new doormat for my apartment. Simple, clean, black letters on a gray background. Not your escape hatch. And that's the real ending. Not a dramatic scene. Not a final screen. Just peace. Not the peace that comes from resolution. The peace that comes from distance. Because sometimes healing isn't a reunion. Sometimes it's a door that locks from the inside. And sometimes the most explosive thing you can do is never walk through it again. What would you do in Michelle's shoes? Tell me in the comments. If you like this story, please like and share this video and subscribe to the channel for more inspiring stories.